Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup. All right, let's get into it. New Riorson, or old Riorson, because I think this book was written first.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
I think 2015.
I'm not familiar with how this character is probably based in like 1,000 different things, and they're all sort of the same basic dark character. Like, he's the man. He's mysterious and kind of an asshole, but he's gonna love me is what I think happens. Anyway, everybody's sitting down at the table, right?
Yep.
This is pretty close to where we
Yes, that's
come into it.
exactly where it ended. It was the night after they had their little party.
Not the fire festival, but the other one.
This is a new fire festival. There was a big bonfire at this one.
Oh, okay. But this is one where everybody's just doing drugs and they're supposed to be like more rock and roll than the sex.
Yeah.
Morning after, everybody's hanging like a motherfucker. Things are happening. They're sitting down to lunch, I believe it is. And then middle of some lighthearted conversation, everybody gets real serious. Tamlin's like, hey, get that bitch to the window. I'm going to make her invisible with the glamour.
Yeah.
And then Lucian is like, cool beans. He's like straight up just bumping her, booty bumping her right back into the window.
Yes.
And he's all ready for combat. And then Tamlin is like getting real serious. And then he's like, wait a minute, I'll try to look casual. What do? Get rid of my shirt and just go to my warrior, what I think is like BDSM gear with knives in it.
Oh, yeah, because it's the baldric.
It doesn't sound like a word that we would know outside of this. So we're not war people. You don't know. Anyway, so he's got all his knives and stuff on him and he's ready for battle, but then he's like, you know what? I'm going to try to look super casual, which I think would work if your right-hand man wasn't like leaned up against a wall with swords drawn out and looking everything but casual. Anyway, so he starts like picking his fingernails and shit. We know something big and bad's coming, right? Boom. Enter new Riorson, or old Riorson. I can't remember his name, but it also starts with an R. Raisins.
Reasoned.
Reese is what he becomes referred to. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Reese because I can probably remember that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Reese walks in, cool as a cucumber. The way he's described is like he emanates darkness, which is a hard thing. It's like the anti-light bulb.
I want to show you the fan art. I had to go back and re-listen to his interaction with Feyre at the Fire Festival because I had a bad first impression of him, but he was actually just trying to be helpful. Like, do you need to be escorted somewhere? And she like kept asking questions and he's just like, I thought referred to himself as a monster. We'll see what that I guess means later, but
I mean,
his first interaction with her was good.
What is a monster to them? Aren't they all kind of monsters?
Yeah.
Or is it like humans or what's hiding under their bed?
What did you think of Reese's interaction in this scene?
In this scene?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I want to go back to real quick the Fire Festival interaction she has with him, right?
Yeah. Look how handsome he is.
So,
don't look at that one.
He looks straight up privates. Wow.
No, what?
Whoa.
No,
it's crazy.
Don't look at it because I think it's a spoiler.
Oh, then I don't want to know that.
Okay, let's.
He just looks like that guy from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Whoever drew this,
no, it's based off of a person. He looks kind of like
such a handsome smile.
Yeah,
but it's artworks by someone. It's unfortunate that I can't give them some credit.
That's he's got it.
Whoa, look at that. That is like
Henry Cavill and Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis in there because he's got that chin and the mouth.
Yeah,
like. I guess everybody's got those.
There you go.
All right,
spoiler.
I think I've seen enough.
I've gotten rid of it.
I have seen enough.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? The guy in 10 Things I Hate About You? He plays the asshole who's really into his sister. He bets the Joker it's like, hey, I'll bet you $100 or some weird inconsequential amount of money. He's like,
things.
Yeah. He's like, oh, the sister, if you can make her go on a date with Kat, if Kat will go on a date with you, then I can date the sister. But he's the dark-haired fella. He's not in any of those, and they're all going to be Heath.
You're the wrong movie.
No, I don't. Here you go. Wait, go back. Right here on the end. He looks like that guy to me.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, hold on. Find who that person is. Go to the cast, and we'll find this guy.
Is it Cameron?
No. Oh. Cameron's the dweeby guy, who I really enjoyed. But
Michael.
No, definitely not that guy.
He's from...
Sorry, Mike, if you're listening.
He's a nobody.
No, he isn't. He was in things in the 90s. Yes, there we go.
Keegan.
And when he was young, I think he looks like how they want these people to look. Now, this is all him more recently.
There he is.
But yeah, he just looks like that guy to me.
Okay.
Like, come on, you got to, as a human.
No, I don't like this. That's not who I want to picture. I like the fan art when you first just search recent fan art. Number 2 Google search is my favorite.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to picture. And then when you click on the image, Google gives you more images. And then there's one right after that. That's another really good one.
Nope. See, well, in my mind, that's what he looks like. Anyway, it's also what Xaden Riorson looks like to me.
No.
They both look like that now in my head. That's it. That's all there is to it. I can't fix it.
That's fine. That's.
I think it'll do for
your male gaze, and I have my female gaze.
You're a male gaze.
I don't even know what that means.
Nobody does, but it's provocative.
Okay. So they are in the room. He enters. He's talking.
They're in the cafeteria.
Amarantha's whore.
Oh yeah, Amarantha. And who I have a nickname for her somewhere in my notes too. But anyway,
that's for
let me go back
later when Alice is talking about
So he walks in. Tamlin's pretending to be casual, right? Mm-hmm. Tamlin immediately lets that go. And he's just like, Reese, what the fuck do you want? And Reese is like the world's worst detective. Like he walks in and he's like, oh, you guys are sitting down to have some lunch. They have like a 5-minute conversation. And as he's walking out, he notices a third plate. There are obviously like several chairs. It's a big table. The fact that you wouldn't immediately walk in and either go, oh, cool, they set me up a plate that somebody's been eating out of already, or you would go, where's the third individual? Like, he gets there. But it takes him far too long for somebody that's old enough, because it's also addressed, he's older than Tamlin, because he taught Tamlin all of Tamlin's bullshit before he became High Lord, right?
Wow, you definitely pick up way different things than me.
Well,
I did not pick that up. I just saw it as they haven't seen each other in 50 years. I didn't know that.
Well, they'd clearly been around each other because the Fire Festival thing happens every so often, right? It's like during that, all the monsters can go wherever they want, blah, blah, blah. It's like a Doctors Without Borders things. You're like, that's what it is. It's just monsters with no borders. They all get to come out from their little hole under the...
Oh, I actually wrote that quote down.
The dirt?
That he said, all the monsters have been let out of their cages, no matter what court they belong to, so I may roam wherever I wish until dawn. But then he's still over there after dawn because they're having lunch.
Yeah, but he can do this every spring. Like, can you imagine? So for the 7 times 7 years, which I don't understand why it had to be 7 times 7, and they couldn't just say 50 years. Either way, I'm suppose it's supposed to add some intrigue or something to it.
That is for later in this scene. That is never mentioned, which is in my notes.
Later. It's
mentioned by Alice. 30. But it's not mentioned, and that's one of the notes that I have for you, is that Riorson doesn't mention any of this.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention that something is happening in 3 days.
Okay.
That's suspicious. He also says it's too late, but yet he has 3 days. I think all of that's a lie that Alice said.
Oh, well, all right. I'm curious on that, and I want to touch back on that. But first of all, I want to also touch on the fact that at some point, I don't know, did we discuss earlier Tamlin saying that her senses were still sealed off to magic, therefore implying she will get magic later? Or no?
That was
when he kissed her eyeball.
Yeah.
We did discuss that. Okay.
That
all
was
right.
the last one.
My notes are on one disconjointed thing. Oh, what is the cauldron there? They're like, praise the cauldron.
It was like mentioned also by Alice. There's like, I think they're almost like gods, just some type of reference.
It's just not a vat somewhere. Like,
no, it's like
a witch's cauldron is what I imagine. They're like,
there's 3 something. We have to go back to, I think, when Alice is talking, there's a little more detail about it, because Alice mentions it's what the 3 blank of the cauldron wished it to be, or something like that. Alice mentions it.
Okay. All right.
There's
this
just
makes sense.
A little bit more detail than just the cauldron.
Well, and so I had a question earlier on, but I think it was answered later because our impression of what the blight was.
Yes, I heard that.
I have that it kills the young ones, but it didn't affect the rest of the court.
And this is where I think Alice has some fibs to what she is saying, because in this scene that we're talking about in chapter 26, or maybe it's 27, but just in this range, after this scene, or I don't know where it's at, it doesn't even matter. Tamlin is telling Feyre it got the children, it sucked their magic out to the point that it killed them, the blight. But yet you have Alice saying Amarantha is just the blight. Everything that it's her, and more of a person causing mayhem versus a curse. So I don't quite fully understand what the blight is between how these people are all talking about it.
Okay, so my impression is that she is the blight, and she is dangerous to the young ones because she knows that they're valuable to these people. Therefore, she keeps fucking with them just because her joy is solely born from the suffering of these other people. It's what makes her feel powerful. And she clearly is, because it's also brought up with New Riorson. He's the Lord of the Night Court, right? Which makes sense because they're like, oh, he's dark.
But so Riorson said he was in shock that Feyre was still alive, and that if she knew what was going on, she would be running for the hills type of thing. He was in shock that she was still alive, that she clearly doesn't know everything because she's still here and isn't terrified of who she's in company with. He never mentioned the treaty or anything like that of referencing why she would be there or anything to that effect. He doesn't mention the curse. He doesn't mention the timeline coming up. He says something is already too late. If he was arrogant and was just was ready for, I think of every classic movie where there's a deadline and the deadline's coming up and you're running out of time. The bad guy loves giving a call or some type of reference to your time's running out, just accept your loss. Just that's not what this scene was.
No, but he was in her mind at that time and saw her apprehension of things, and he's looking at it going, you got 3 days, homie.
He never mentions the 3 days,
but it gets brought up later. He's not bringing up, not by reason. He's brought nothing concrete up other than he will tell Amarantha, and Amarantha will destroy this woman. I think reason isn't. I don't think that at this point he's invested in anything. I think his fun is coming from the fact that, oh, Tamlin, you're as fucked as the rest of us now. Like, I think he had 50 years to watch one dude still get to preside over his court.
Yeah.
And all the other lords are like, they live under the mountain with the dirt woman. Like, there's like, they don't get any of their shit. They got to keep hoeing themselves out. And he's like, now, Tamlin, you're just as shitty as the rest of us. Because earlier he references like, oh, not proud, but there was another word for like, oh, the incredible lord of the spring court.
Very sarcastic and making fun of their masks.
Well, and making fun of the fact that Tamlin is considered to be more respectable than they are. Like when he's like, oh, the incredible lord of the spring court, he doesn't bring up that he's the lord of the night court. It's more like, oh, Tamlin is this dude who had this opportunity that the rest of them did not. And I find that to be really interesting, but we later learn it's because Amarantha liked Tamlin also.
We are aware Riorson knows things that we don't know, right?
Yeah.
We know the spring court knows things we don't know also. We have been learning things that the spring court is aware of, Tamlin specifically. Then we hit chapter 32 and we learn more from Alice. The information that Alice shares does not line up with the behavior of the information that Riorson knows. If it's true that there is a deadline in 3 days and they got Tamlin, like, I got you, there would be some type of reference to that deadline. That's what I was getting with that part. I just was thinking Riorson knows something we don't know, and it doesn't match the information we were given by Alice, in my opinion. I think we're going to be learning more, but I think he knows something that I don't know how to describe it. I think that it's just Alice's information is not all true in what I got from it, because not all of it really lines up well. And I think those notes are
okay. So let me
like, Riorson was shocked she was still alive, just being with this group of people, almost like Tamlin hates humans and is out to destroy humans, and he is shocked that there is a human, but yet that also doesn't make sense why he's like, you almost could have gotten away with it, but it's too late.
So I read that so differently. I read it as, it's not Tamlin who hates the humans. I looked at it as her hatred of the Fae, she would have eventually fucked up enough, and the rest of the Fae around there hate humans. I took it as more like, oh, she's still alive, even though on Fire Festival I literally saw you around piles of people that wanted nothing more than to take advantage of and or murder you.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore he escorted her away. Mm-hmm. And then she was like, I've got this on my own, even though she was about to be abducted. And he's like, wow, you're still around. That's crazy. I didn't think you were going to make it through the night. That's how I took that. Mm-hmm. And I see Alice's information as not being contradictory to New Riorson stuff. I see it as his information is probably more complete. And I think her information, I didn't see anything that directly contradicted. I didn't, like with the lack of him mentioning the timeline, I think it would have been weird for him to all of a sudden throw that out there while he's having this moment with Tamlin there. As to like, you have 3 days, motherfucker. You don't have time. I think him saying you almost had enough time while he's in her mind and can see her apprehension, which ends up being correct. She did not say, I love you, which I have a note on that too. But she didn't say it. He was absolutely correct that he didn't have the time for her to do what was necessary.
Riorson didn't say, you don't have enough time in these next few days. It was, you're too late.
Yeah, but whatever. That is the same thing.
Yeah, if you whatever was going on was just done.
Okay.
And we're well past it. And
so
and he also mentioned, Riorson mentioned, did you beg for yourself or for her? And is her Feyre or is it Amarantha?
Okay, so I want to address the first thing and then I want to come back to that because I have a different view on that too. The first thing, I viewed it as like, okay, if it's 10:30 at night and I'm like, oh, I want to make pizza. And you're like, it's going to take us like another 2 hours to make dough and do all this stuff. It's too late. It isn't that you wouldn't necessarily have to go through the whole expository bit of like, if only you had started this at 9:30, you'd just be like, well, it's a little late for that, right? Like you missed that deadline. But hold on, I could end up being proved wrong on that.
No, that's okay. And I like how we're just bouncing between the information 26 to 32, 26 to 30, everything in between.
Wait, no, it's all Riesling now.
Yeah. So there was another issue that I had with the information Alice gave us.
Okay.
It was Amarantha said this whole prophecy, right?
Conditions.
These conditions that just don't make sense. So your sister falls in love with a human, right? Mm-hmm. Her sister truly loved the human man. The human man never truly loved her sister, therefore betrayed her sister and murdered her sister or something like that. There was some type of betrayal, right?
Yeah, made her watch.
Okay, did the sister die?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And then Amarantha murders human, correct?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Amarantha.
Power-wise, if I got those details messed up, it makes sense that human's dead. Now, Amarantha has love for Tamlin. He says, I would rather fall in love with a human. And she's like, you know what? I want you to feel what I felt about my sister or what my sister felt. Wouldn't the conditions of the prophecy be you have to truly fall in love with a human that doesn't love you back?
No. So
wouldn't that be the prophecy?
Yeah, but I think that could have been accomplished more easily.
Why is the prophecy or whatever these conditions that the human has to truly love the Fae when that didn't even happen to the sister?
Well, I think that would be the recompense. I think that is the thing that if that were to have been the scenario, if that were a possibility, her sister wouldn't have died needlessly. I think it's not to give him the exact same situation as the sister.
So he felt the same, but if he can get a human to fall in love with him and he doesn't love the human, it's just like, bye-bye, like good riddance, like you killed the human. Who cares?
Well, they had to both, first of all, a human would have to fall in love with him that had deep, true hatred in her heart.
Yes.
I think instead...
Alice never said Tamlin had to love the human.
Correct. I don't see that as an issue. What I see with this is Amarantha gave this challenge, so to speak, in a way that she didn't see it was possible for him to succeed. And I think if it had been the other way, it's not like, oh, you would have to love this woman, blah, 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 blah. I don't think you giving more conditions to the other magic people necessarily makes this harder.
It just didn't make sense with Amarantha.
It's a stupid plot device. But it's not.
Because even like as Alice was talking, she's just like, it had to be a woman who had hatred in her heart for Fae, and it had to be, and it wasn't just any Fae, it had to be like from his own quarry, his own friend, or something to that effect, like his consort maybe is the term. I don't even know.
Okay.
Okay, never mind that.
I don't think that's the accurate one.
I'm so sorry.
No,
Anyway, there had to be someone close to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like lost how many of them over the years. And he's like, hurry.
Sometimes it was an old woman that who killed him, who hated the Fae, and he's like, I'll do anything to break this curse by banging an old lady.
Yes.
Anyway.
It's like sometimes it would be an old. That was just another moment that I'm just like, I don't believe you, Alice. And he didn't have to fall in love with a woman. He could make an older woman fall in love with him, an older human woman.
Again, I think the biggest plot hole, if you want to take it that way, is the fact that he just didn't want to bang an old lady. That is almost explicitly addressed. But hold on. I think we are seeing the same events through different lenses.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's good. I think it's awesome because, number one, that means that maybe the book is written in a more complex way than I'm giving it credit for in my head.
Maybe. Because I'm just...
Hold on, though. I want to go back to before you brought up Alice again.
Okay, yes.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about...
I said the pizza thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had a second thing that I wanted to address after that. And I don't remember what it was, but I really want to
I think I remember. It was the idea of not bringing up the deadline in 3 days.
Yes.
And you related it to a pizza. So it's like, it takes so long to make a pizza, you're not going to have time, so you might as well accept defeat.
Well, and I think it's not even so much that. It would be like, if they're literally just, if I could see into the future and saw that it didn't happen, I wouldn't feel the need to be like, if only you had done this several days earlier, you'd just be like, oh, dude, you're too late. Oh, I know what it was. It was, you had asked the whole, are you begging for her or are you begging?
Yeah.
So what I saw that as is, Tamlin, do you love Feyre? Are you begging for her sake so Amarantha won't fucking murder her, however brutally that would happen? Or are you doing it for the sake of your court?
When I heard the her, I think we're meant to assume Feyre. And it's just vague enough that that's okay in the moment. But I almost wondered if it was for Amarantha. Like, I obviously am just guessing. Like, yeah, I mean, it could have been about Feyre the entire time. But what if Amarantha is actually Tamlin's lover and Tamlin's having an affair with a human? And he's like, are you doing this for your sake? For Amarantha's sake, so she doesn't find out. Like, clearly, I know you don't care about humans. And... that was just one of those things.
I think that would be a sweet take. I think there are moments in this book where things are written in a really complex way to bring you into it and further the storyline. I took this as this part of the book was basically just to give us more or less exposition of the fact that Amarantha is more powerful than the lords of the courts are.
Yeah.
And that the Dark Lord guy is actually still super powerful too, because he was able to see through the glamour and he gets pissy about that. And he can do mind control shit, which I don't know if all of them can do that, but he's clearly a force to be reckoned with. And for, I think later on, for us to have an appreciation of, oh, well, this guy's as badass as Tamlin. And he's like, who do you think taught Tamlin how to do this stuff? Ooh. It was me. I think this was all more or less meant, while it still provides the small plot devices such as she gives a fake name, so on and so forth, that then carries on later on in the story. I do think that for the most part, this was done to give us some, not super heavy, but somewhat exposition on who this guy is, because this guy is going to become a major character.
Also with the Suriel, I went back and found that scene again, and I re-listened to what the Suriel said to her, and she says, stay with the High Lord and you'll be saved. She doesn't, or the Suriel doesn't say which High Lord.
Okay, I also have that in my notes.
Yeah.
Now, I have a whole nother thing I want to get into also, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. Because with that, I have so many more little notes, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, we learned that Tamlin is a widower.
Oh, when?
Right.
Goodness, I don't listen very well.
No, you're good.
Just seeking out.
You're good. It was.
I want to hear when listening.
That's okay. I'm like that. That's how we have conversations. Sometimes I say something stupid, and you're like, "Wow, I sure wish this guy wasn't an idiot." And I sound so much smarter. His love was dead. I can't remember. I believe Amarantha killed her. Don't remember exactly how it worked out. Let's go to where they have sexy times, right?
Oh my God, that scene was so.
Hold on.
Yeah, you start with your thing first.
I'm bringing up one major point here with this. Well, hold on. Actually, I have one more thing before we get into the juicy bits.
Okay.
Has Hybern been talked about long before these points?
Not long. It was brought up by the Suriel.
Oh, okay, but that's it. Though we didn't have like some deeper lore because they kept referencing Hibern, like we should know what that is. And I didn't.
We were shared at some point, and I think it was the Surreal or somewhere in that time frame, about how Hibern isn't led by a lord, but led by a king, and that king signed the treaty, and he doesn't like that he signed that treaty.
Okay, fair enough.
But during that time, Amarantha was never mentioned.
Right. Well, and I feel like Amarantha's sort of this, obviously she's the big bad, at least for this part, right?
Yeah.
My other thing was, so they kept referencing Hibern because the king of Hibern is who Amarantha used to serve, and that whole thing got wild. What I wanted to bring up too wow, man, I have so many little things I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, there was so much in this.
Number one, I think part of the reason for why Tamlin's whole thing of like, find a human woman to love you, blah, 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 right? Because there was a battle betwixt the Fae as well. Like, it wasn't just Fae versus humans, it was Fae versus humans and Fae, or Fae and humans. Yeah. And so I think depending on which side of that you were on, and then Amarantha's like, I'm actually not an asshole. I'm so sorry, guys. And she's like making it up to everybody. And then everybody but
that I am.
Well, yeah, but everybody but Tamlin believes in her, right? And that's how she ended up convincing them all to go to the mountain and she could take their power or whatever from underneath the mountain. And that's why Tamlin retained some semblance of his, super juice. Anyway, the sex scene, it's odd. And it's kind of, I think, fueled by the new Riorson guy where he's like, she wonders what it'd be like if you bit her on the tit like you bit her on the neck. And he's like, oh, that's juicy stuff.
But she takes the embarrassment so well.
She's not in control of her brain at the time, remember?
But
he's got
like afterwards, this is another scene that I would just be like, I'm going to go die now.
Isn't that embarrassing?
To have my deepest sexual thoughts exposed, like...
I don't know.
With you and me, like, that's fine. Like, but I mean, as a 19-year-old girl to the man you have a crush on,
well,
I would die.
Well, see, and I have a difficult time empathizing with that, but I can sympathize. And I see where you're coming from. That would be crazy. What kills me more is that it wasn't obvious to everybody in the room already.
I think
you couldn't tell. Like, yeah, so it's like, okay, why are we even sharing this? This doesn't fucking matter. Then she's all juiced up after this, right? She's like, I'm gonna fuck this guy because now he knows what I want.
Yes.
And then he goes beast mode, right? And they're banging one out. But what's really wild to me, she's like, the sex is incredible. She doesn't know what incredible sex is. She's 19 years old. She has never had any.
She had Isaac, and we already know.
And he was adequate.
Her first time with that Isaac, she still calls that adequate. Like,
yeah, she's like, well, knees and elbows. That's what we were. But here's what really gets me. The whole cure for this was for her to say, I love you to Tamlin. The sex wasn't that great if she didn't accidentally say that during sex. But if it didn't even accidentally slip out, that's not good sex.
Point. Okay, what is the difference of saying I love you and feeling that love? Because if she truly felt the love that she's saying she did, she already hit that moment. But another part of the curse was that the woman needed to kill a fae with hatred in her heart. I don't think she killed him with hatred in her heart.
I think she did.
I don't think so. I think she did it out of desperation to take care of her family. The whole first chapter is the desperation and starvation, the brink of death of, if I don't succeed, my family dies. Having the opportunity for a wolf to kill and walk away with that pelt was part of her family's survival. And I should probably go re-listen to chapter 1 in that moment. She thought about it and she knew that she didn't care if it was a fae, but I think as far as the prophecy or conditions, the hatred in her heart, I don't think that was there when I think of that first couple chapters.
And I agree. I think really what's happening though is she had hate in her heart for the fae.
Yes, but not when she killed it.
But I think she had that hate in her heart, not for that particular fae. Because she also wasn't entirely certain it was a fae. She was pretty sure it was, on the off chance she was going to use her ashen arrow, right? But she wasn't going to, like it was not like she was like, this guy in particular, fuck him. But I don't think that screws with it at all. I think she hated the fae, even up until the point that she was brought into the manor. I think she had hatred in her heart for the fae, and she murdered one of his people. I think if I'm the lawyer in this, I'm looking at it going, she met those conditions.
I saw it as not in the moment because she knew that if she let that wolf or fae get the dough, her family is going to starve.
I think all of these things are true. I think she also has a hatred in her heart. Okay, think about it this way. Sometimes you're not a huge fan of things that I say or do, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the love in your heart does not exist in the outside of that moment. It just means you're not feeling it in that moment, but that exists there. It's just not at the forefront. And I see this as a similar thing.
Even when he busts through the door and he looks at her, he's like, you did this with hatred in your heart, something like that, right? That
you hated him. He's really hoping that she goes, yep.
And she didn't say yes. She's like, doesn't matter. Or she was like apathetic, like, yeah, bye-bye, good riddance to the fae. Like, but she didn't do it in, like, even in that scene, I remember like screaming in my head, like, she didn't do it for that reason. Her family is starving. So I don't know. I took it as the reason behind the kill, the reason behind the murder. I thought the motive needed to be hatred for fae, not I hate fae.
But it never says that the kill has to be motivated by that. It just says both things have to be there.
Oh, we're going to go back to chapter 32 for the third time and listen to how Alice runs it.
Fair. You could, I think that you understand this probably better.
No, I don't think so.
I hope you do, because who is this for? No, I think you could be right. I don't think it's that complicated. I think overall this was just a bit of narrative device to keep us moving forward toward a goal. Now,
I think these details matter because there's going to be betrayal. You have these assumptions with Feyre. Feyre has these assumptions, and she's going to be betrayed because of these assumptions and where she's going. That's why I think these little details, I'm hoping.
I don't disagree. Hold on.
So stupid.
Hold on. I don't disagree. I do think these things are going to be important. I just don't think that they're going to flesh out in that way.
Why does Feyre falling in love with him have to? Why is that the part that breaks the curse?
All right. Well, because it's a Disney movie written for grown-ups. But
oh, wait. Before we continue moving forward, I remember the sex scene. I had something that I want to share.
All right, bet you do.
So they're in the hallway, and he is talking about all the things he'd do to her and the way that he would make love to her. And when it came down to making love to her, he didn't do any of those things. And he's like, if we do this, I won't be able to stop. It's just like, again, if we continue forward, you no longer get to pull consent. Like, oh, Nikki.
Yeah, no,
And she even uses the, like, predatory glare, predatory look. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, okay. Well, and then we're back into the purring.
No,
everybody.
I think she only used the word purr for a reason.
No.
When we re-listened, I heard it 2 times, and it was when she first met him, and the second time was when he was talking at the table area.
No, post-coitally, there was some reference of purr.
Well, we can listen to that scene.
I don't want to.
Me either. It was a very lackluster scene of.
Yeah, okay, that's my issue. It wasn't dirty enough. No, it was
I think the sex scenes in Iron Flame and Fourth Wing were way better.
I think they're all fine. They're completely adequate.
They're adequate.
I am.
I think Tamlin was subpar in his skills and that. So, like, she's just like...
He's probably out of practice. He hasn't banged anybody other than the fairy people every year. He gets one day a year.
He went down and I climaxed. And I was like, okay, good for you. I don't really see how you got there, given the predatory look, and he never did any of the things he said he would.
Again, I'm not here to shame her. Whatever she's into.
Yeah.
I think he sold her a bill of goods that he didn't deliver on. I think that's accurate.
Well, she did finish. So, I mean, that was...
If that's the only goal is like, oh, you just get off, like, that would drastically change our own lives.
Oh, yeah. So my note, Tamlin said he would take things slow and seductive.
And instead
he didn't. He just like...
Also, we said he wouldn't stop, but then the next morning, they're like, it's described as lazily making love. And I'm like, I don't know if that's like you guys are tired or you guys are just doing it out of obligation.
I thought the lazy was like, lazy look or a lazy smile. I think it was a lazy smile.
I think she said that they were making love lazily.
Oh.
I could be wrong. Honestly,
we'll go back again.
Please don't make me. You can go back again. And then I want to keep moving forward in the book. Okay, so hold on. Now, at some point after their lovemaking, right? He's like, well, you better get packed up. You're out of here. I just wanted to bang one out real quick before I sent you away.
Yes. You could just go back, and she even calls it out on it. Like, I thought you said I couldn't. He's like, well, I'll take one for the team. I'll take it. I'll take on the burden of the treaty.
Okay, but we did learn that wasn't real. That was all a condition of him trying to break the curse.
And the Suriel says, when she was asking questions about getting out of this, the Suriel said she shouldn't go home and to stay with the High Lord.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Tamlin never talked to the Suriel. And also, if the Suriel knows all these things, why the fuck isn't everybody else talking to him? Why only the person who knows absolutely nothing are they the ones asking the questions? That would be like me going to ask a murder suspect all the things, and I have no context into what the crime was. I'm just like, did you do it? And they're like, do what? And I'm like, whatever you're here for. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, oh, got him. And they're like, yeah, I came here because my car ran out of gas. And I'd be like, well, I guess not. It's not our guy. Like, we should have let somebody else ask the surreal questions. And I assume that later on they'll become...
Well, this Suriel is right, because if she...
Surreal? How do we pronounce that?
That's kind of one of the disadvantages.
I think it's surreal.
Yeah, I think it's Suriel. But again, this is a disadvantage of audiobooks. I'm just trying to do things based off of sound. Because sometimes it's Feyre and other times it's Farah. Like
Feyre Fawcett. I stand by that one. That's funny.
But it looks like Feyre in its spelling.
I think it is Feyre. I think you're 100% right.
I have the... Could older women not fall in love with him?
They could, but he
Chapter 42, 11 minutes in. It's like that moment.
I just didn't want to deal with some bitch who actually knows what's going on.
Older women, gross. Am I right? And then Bear's just like, yeah, this poor Tamlin, he needs me. Yeah. Only me.
Instead
I'm
of some
the special one.
Yeah.
Like those other women, you're right. They're old. They're gross.
Yeah.
Humans? Oh, yeah. Feyre does not like humans. Like, she got a little...
I think that's kind of the point of her being 19. She's moldable.
I'm not like the other girls. I'm young and beautiful, and I got hips now, so watch out, ladies.
Oh, yeah. No, she's full built. That's what we heard. She's like, that's it. Look at these tatties. So she goes home, though, right?
Yeah.
She goes home. She goes home. Her family is now incredibly wealthy because Tamlin had given them a chest of gold for investing money. It does not matter at all. Basically, Tamlin also magically brings the ships back that her dad sent out, and now they're even more wealthy. The one younger sister is like the lovable idiot. She's just really nice to everybody, but she's sort of stupid. Other sister, Nesta, who is, is it Esther and Nesta? It doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
Nesta's the important one.
Yeah.
So I want to discuss Nesta for just a few minutes.
Yes,
because
please.
At this point, Nesta is going to be my favorite character, and I have high hopes. Now,
she was crying with her family starving a little bit, just as test of her
Nope,
dad.
not going to say she's well written. Not going with any part of that. I just like that she's such an asshole that she couldn't be fooled by the glamour. And I like that. I like that she is described as just being a bitch. And that's what I'm into. She's my favorite. Hold on.
I want to look up fan art of what Nesta
Hold on.
looks like.
But okay, all right. But there's a discussion that's going to happen here. So, Nesta is not fooled by the glamour. Therefore, she's like, it's described as she has a mind that is so her own.
Oh, they even draw her with a bitchy look.
Yeah, they do. Hey, I'm into it. No spoiler in that.
I
caught it immediately. No, there is a spoiler in it. Put it away. Okay, because this is the theory I wanted to get into. So I have Nesta is so powerful, right? No. Yeah, okay, we're going to touch on Nesta here. She's super important.
Powerful. She's witty, intelligent, clever.
And such an asshole that she can't be fooled because she doesn't believe anything anybody tells her ever.
That made me so sad in the beginning of the book. I think it was Nesta who said such hurtful things about Feyre's drawings or paintings in the beginning.
It sounds to me like maybe her paintings were actually dog shit and Nesta's just really honest. But that's what I'm guessing. Anyway, so
fucking sucks.
I had in here that Nesta knows something, right? From the time that they arrived in the home, I bet Nesta knows something. Just immediately, I was like, this bitch.
Oh, yeah,
she's
because she never walked with them. She wasn't excited. She's just like watching back. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Even when she greets her, right?
Yeah.
And then Feyre's story about how, like, I was reading to our aunt, which is a hilarious thing to say because she's the only character that we have been repeatedly told is illiterate.
Can't read. She's like, I didn't teach you to read. Who the hell taught you to read?
And our others is like, did you get all our letters? She's like, no. And she's like, even if I got the letters, I couldn't read them. And then her immediate cover story is, I was reading for our aunt who was sick. And I'm like, what the fuck were you reading? Your aunt's got a bunch of pop-up picture books? Like, get the fuck out of here. You weren't reading. Then nobody calls her out on it at all, which I also think is hilarious. And at first I'm like, that's how Nesta knew that this was bullshit. Because she's like, that illiterate bitch didn't do anything.
I didn't teach you shit.
Yeah, she's just got it like written on a piece of paper. She's like, Pharaoh's a dumb bitch. And Pharaoh's like, that's a lovely note. And just hands it back. She's like, I knew you still couldn't read. Anyway, so we move on from that though. Nesta's like, I'm not fooled by the glamour. I had to watch as these fucking village idiots all of a sudden went from sobbing to being happy and totally accepted that you were off with some rich aunt. Nesta hires the fucking Fae Hunter bitch to take her up to the wall. They couldn't get through. And Nesta's like, I was ready to go in there and bust some fucking skulls for you.
Yeah.
So hold on. Then after that, she's like, Nesta was willing to come to Parenthia. Nesta is going to become part of a strike force, right? That I have in my head of the people that assemble to defeat Amarantha. At first I thought Rhys is going to take Feyre from Tamlin because at the bare minimum, he's a more compelling character, right? So far, he's kind of an asshole, but he's more powerful, blah, blah, blah. And I think that might still be the case, but I'm going to be very bummed out if Nesta doesn't kind of end up with him because I think their dynamic of just two dickheads who are overpowered in their own way would be so much funnier to me. But then I also think that Lucian has got to find a woman at some point, and it's either going to be Cat Lady or it's going to be maybe Nesta.
Lady? Who's Cat Lady?
I envision her as a Cat Lady, the maid. And Alice. Yeah. So I either think it's going to be her or somebody else, but because he has also so far been so committed to Tamlin that he's a part of the strike force, but you have to have another love interest going, especially if this series goes on for 5 books. We can only hear so much about 2 people doing it.
Yeah.
And we can only be so disappointed if she just picks a new dude every, 10 chapters. So I think what's going to happen is he's got to have a love interest and it has to be Cat Lady or the sister, but I hope the sister ends up with Rhys. And I don't really give a shit what happens with Tamlin or Feyre. Feyre is not a compelling main character at this point. She started off so strong because of a desperation, and her motivations now are so milquetoast bullshit to me. Like, it's like, but I love Tamlin, so I'm going to go do this. Like, you are in the way.
Betrayal is coming.
And it is, but I don't think it will be an intentional thing. I think it'll be something where it's understood.
Puppy love.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be like, listen, I do love you, but yes, our relationship started off based off this thing where I was really just trying to save my people, which you can't fault him for.
Yeah.
Like, you can fault him for not banging the old ladies and doing it with somebody else, but I'm saying overall,
we're older women.
Yeah, he'll do anything but an old lady to save his people.
That is one of my favorite scenes so far, and they just like slip it in, like, you know what I mean? Like,
sometimes men kill them, and sometimes older women. Then I'm like, oh, gross, older women, disgusting. Because otherwise, you know who would have been the main character? The fucking
older woman.
No,
gross.
The Fae Hunter lady who's like missing limbs. And,
yes, she would have been so badass though.
Yeah, but the sex scenes would have been weird. He'd have been like, I like scar tissue, and as I moved my hand down her purple leg.
That woman likes women. I could tell by the way that was written. She
that's Nesta's love interest. I hope Nesta stays. The moral of my whole story is Nesta needs to become important. Nesta.
Wait, Nesta, I got confused there. Yeah, maybe Nesta is not straight.
I don't give a shit if she is or not. Good. I think, and you know what? Honestly, I like Nesta enough. I hope she gets them all. I hope Feyre ends up alone and just trying to find somebody, and maybe she ends up with Soriel. I don't give a shit. What really happens here? Okay.
The white eyes, no lips.
Okay. Wouldn't you be intrigued? Like, I want to hear that sexy. How does that work? It'd be like, like those, well, that's going to get into something weird.
Out.
Ooh, yeah. Give me them gums, boy.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, so
I have a moment that I still want to share because you're still going on about Nesta.
Yeah.
It's about Nesta.
Right.
I just want to turn.
Okay. All right. Make it.
How does the glamour work?
Oh, that was your whole thing?
Yeah. When you were talking about how the glamour didn't work on Nesta, she had something to ground her, as in this history of memories, right? And the glamour seemed to come in as the forward moving, but the money is real. The house is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like the glamour only works on your mind and your view of what's going on around you. The glamour prevented Feyre from viewing all the other fairies in that world. The glamour worked on Riorson for a moment to hide Feyre from him. Like, he walked in and the glamour was being applied to Riorson to not see her. The glamour was being applied to Feyre to not see the other fairies. The glamour was being applied to her dad and younger sister to not remember that story of what had just happened. But Nesta was able to fight it by having something to ground her.
The scratch marks in the table.
Scratch marks.
Yeah.
And
I
also
think
it being an absurd story.
So I think my understanding of glamour is that it is like a deep suggestion to somebody to adjust their perception of things.
But the money's all real, right?
Correct. Yeah, they were actually given money, and that's why the idea of, oh, this man came to have this invested with you. Like, so the way that it was explained to us as far as how the money came to be, right? The guy said, I need you to invest my money so it can make more money. And as a token of me believing in you, take this chest of money. That is his fee for investing it. Now you've got money again. Now, what did he do? He tripled that money that the first guy gave him. So now...
But all of that was kind of real. And
all that did happen.
I don't know about the investing. I don't know if that was...
I assume the dad was actually proficient at that because they were wealthy before and he invested people's money. And it wasn't until the ships went out. Yeah, but I'm saying what really screwed their fortune the first time was he bet a bunch on a real gamble of, hey, we're going to send these ships out and see what they can do and bring... It kind of like... Spanish Inquisition times, right? Where you would have these private companies that would hire these ships to go out and find these assets and things in other places and then bring them back and sell them. And that's how you would make money. I see that as what happened, but the ships didn't come back. So the dad's like, well, fuck, I give all our money to these crews and to buy these ships to go do these things. And then they just didn't ever come back. So they lost all of their money. There was nothing left. So I think the dad is probably a finance manager of some sorts. You know, he's 6'5", blue eyes, finance. Anyway. I think that's what happened. And then, of course, the people that he owed money to and they were also invested with him in that were like, we're going to take this guy's knees out because for some reason, the mobster mentality was strong there.
Wait, you're jumping. I'm confused.
I'm not. I'm going to how the riches work.
Oh, well, anyways, I was just trying to understand the glamour and how it worked. It's just...
Suggestion.
It's not creating things out of nothing. Like, the items in your world are real.
I think it adjusts your perception.
Yeah, your perception, your thoughts, your mindset.
I think you could even perceive things that aren't real, right? Like if people have enough fear of something, you could potentially glamour them into believing that they are perceiving that thing really. But I think it could be sight, smell, hear, all of these, sound. I mean, not hear. But yeah, so that's what I'm seeing it as.
What's going on with Claire Better? What do you think there?
Oh, I think she's being tortured in front of Tamlin underneath the mountain by the dirt woman. That's what I think is happening because
how big is this mountain?
First of all,
these people came under the mountain, this under the mountain, this under the mountain, everything's under the mountain.
I think
this mountain's going to crumble.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't understand the cave system at all, but I'm not that thrown off by the fact that you could get a few thousand people under a mountain. Like, depending on how deep you go, you're under all kinds of things.
Like millions of people.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like almost every worm on the planet is underneath a mountain. If you really think about it, like it's lower than mountain elevation.
Okay, so you're willing to stretch some things on this one, but
I'm having to stretch so many things everywhere.
No.
Oh, okay, you're right. It's flawless.
Flawless book. Overall, the book got really good at 30, chapter 30.
And we were supposed to stop there, and I said...
No, we were supposed to stop at 31.
Okay, either way, I said, I want one more.
Yes.
And
I'm glad you did.
Well,
but I think that it gave us a lot of information. I'm not buying it. I think Alice is stretching some truths.
I don't think Alice is malicious. I think she's a survivalist, and right now she's just trying to take care of those boys. I think that's 100% what it is. I think she's given Feyre the information she can, and I think she's worried for her family.
Mm-hmm. What else do I have for notes? Yeah, I'm still stuck on this one. Why does Feyre need to love him? Wouldn't he have to truly love for her, have to love her to feel what Amarantha felt? No, I'm not buying that one. What if Amarantha is his girl and Feyre is the affair partner? That was the other one. We already touched on that. Still kind of wondering Tamlin's feelings for... Oh, yeah. And Amarantha threw herself at Tamlin, like, when she would arrive, like, oh, poor Tamlin.
Yeah, okay. I see it as she's a manipulative bitch who wanted the power, and the best way for her to get that was using her feminine wiles, and they didn't work on him.
Okay. This is it. This is another issue with Alice's story.
Okay. Man,
the women of the Blessed used as humans to cross borders to help with the rebellion, to find allies. Women were being used. The women that we were introduced in like chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the women that are being picked to go find individuals to fight this war. Because the fairies can't cross borders. Why not human men?
Okay, so I do have what I think could be an explanation for that. I'm not saying it's what the book's justification is. Not my view. Pure sexism from back in the glory years, right? In general, I think what had happened is the men had some job or duty, right? The woman's duty was to find a man, was an ideal scenario for one.
And that's kind of what this book is implying, that women's purpose is like, where I want my sisters to get wed so they're taken care of.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense then for in the best way for people to be influenced, such as men. What is the most influential thing you could use to influence a man? What does a man care about more than money? Yeah, women. No, I don't think that. So I think as far as a tool to be used in order to bring people to the side of, hey, the Fae are actually our buddies, I think that makes total sense. But they would use women for that. And you couldn't use other Fae for this, right? Ideally.
Because supposedly they can't cross borders.
Well, and even if they did, who the fuck's going to listen to them? Nobody believes the Fae. Everybody thinks that they're assholes who are going to try to manipulate you. Don't drink their wine. Don't do this and that, blah, blah, blah. They can't lie to you, but they can manipulate you, so on and so forth. Turns out they can lie, but the story
just wasn't following why human women needed to be used for this.
It seems like the most effective. They're easy to manipulate. They're easy to control, and their frame of use case is so much.
But think of how dangerous Parenthia is, and these women are just gonna like walk through the forest like on my way to cross the border and just survive. That was also another thing. Like the women of the Blessed, these women who are supposed to cross these borders, it's so dangerous.
Sometimes they get murdered, and then it's explained off as they married a Tamlin-esque type character.
Okay, I'm following with that. I just didn't see their survival skills as written as they're going to survive.
But the ones that do make it, first of all, they're being aided by the big bad lady's henchmen, right? So what are they seeing? They're being told like, hey, we're on your side, but you guys are in a world, we're going to help you.
Okay, we're going to go listen to what Alice said for the third time. The women of the Blessed were not for Amarantha. It was for building alliances between the borders against Amarantha is what Alice was saying.
Okay, I didn't take it that way, but even let's say that is the way it went.
So Amarantha has these big badass fairies crossing borders, and these human women of the Blessed are also doing it, and they're like, oh, I just snuck by him. No.
Okay. See, and I didn't take it that way. I took it as the women of the Blessed were being used by Amarantha in order to more or less weaken the idea of it. Oh, I took it as Amarantha using these women to do the same thing she did to the High Lords.
Oh, we're going to go back because I'm pretty sure the women of the Blessed was being used for trying to create alliances to fight against Amarantha.
Okay. No,
we have to go back and readdress this the next time we talk about it because this is very conflicting information now.
We should be allowed to discuss this book while we're listening to it is what I'm learning. Because, my God, we took nothing the same.
No.
And I don't know if it was the way in which we were listening, because to be fair, I think you listened better than I did for the most part. I was doing other things.
I'm probably not with a skeptical mind. If I'm skeptical of Alice,
No, I can tell. You trust Alice so much less than everybody else.
Yes, I was very skeptical of Alice. Why was Alice the only person there? She's just like, well, it's because Amarantha just doesn't care about fairies like me. You're the only one there.
I think everybody else fled, and I think she was hiding those boys somewhere nearby and then getting the food and stuff to take it out.
I think Alice was a plant.
Listen, if Alice is a plant, you have way outdone me, and I am so
or I'm just
proud
a psycho is what I'm gonna be like listening to this next part. I'm like, oh, Alice was right all along, and I was just being a skeptic and ruining the book for myself.
No, I think you're doing great, because I think what you've done is expanded the scope of what the book could be. And I am looking at it as, this is one of the few times I'm just taking Alice at face value. I don't see Alice as, I see her as important, but I don't see her as integral as some of these other characters. I think the only other thing that, well, do you have anything else you wanted?
I have what I want to end on.
Okay.
Everything, it looks like going through all my notes, we've touched on everything.
Okay, and going through my notes, the last note I actually took was Tamlin will do anything to get rid of the curse except fucking old lady. So best send another surf out to get murked so that I can have a chance at meeting a young...
Remember, guys, you're going out to find a hot young woman.
Okay, and then the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, so we ended on Feyre and Alice going off to go find Tamlin, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I think what's going to happen is Claire Betters is... So that was the fake name.
No, it's a fake name, but she's missing.
Correct. Yeah, she's missing, and her family's been murdered and burned up and so on and so forth. And I think that we're going to get there and find, oh, Claire has been tortured constantly. Tamlin's been made to watch in the same way that Amarantha was made to watch her sister, right? Mm-hmm. But what really is going to get me is I'm so curious what Tamlin's reaction of this random woman being tortured is going to be. Because if it isn't horrific, then Tamlin is an asshole. Yeah. Like, you can't just watch, I couldn't watch somebody whom I don't even like be tortured.
Unless he truly does love Feyre, and he would rather this random woman he feels nothing for than Feyre.
That doesn't take away from you watching somebody be tortured and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? There's nobody, I couldn't watch anybody be tortured and be like, honestly, at least it's not
supposed to be me.
Listen, both things are terrible. I'm not saying...
Wouldn't you rather that person that's doing the torturing thinking that it was me, so then when they finally kill that person, you know that, well, yep, you killed her. You killed the love of my life. You did it.
So I feel like you're making the same argument I am. Either way, he should be in shambles, correct?
Yeah, okay, yeah. He should be in shambles because it's another human, but he would be okay with it, with Amarantha thinking that's Feyre, right?
Yeah, either way, he should be in shambles is my point. If he reacts and he's like, oh, you did it. You found that lady. Oh, it's a bad day. I'm going to be like, wow, Tamlin, you're on ice cold. He should be the darkness daddy or whatever.
Darkness daddy?
You know what I'm talking about. Shadow daddy. There we go. Shadow daddy. Darkness daddy
is like a man who is mysterious and protective, though.
So far, I would argue Tamlin has been the most mysterious one because he's lied about most things.
Yeah. But
Riesland hasn't been that mysterious yet, but I am enjoying his character. He so far has been incredibly honest. I would argue if he's the shadow daddy, is literally because of the shadows that he produces. Emanates like a light bulb that sucks light away.
Oh,
like a tiny black hole.
Emanating. Feyre sometimes talks about an aura kind of thing, like something that's like a glow, like a faint thing that she can see, like the magic. She makes this statement, someone covered in thorns. And Tamlin's like, what? And I don't know if it's like genuine curiosity. She's like, oh, someone that is thorny or hard to love kind of thing. She goes in this explanation.
Nesta.
But a court of thorns and roses.
Yeah.
Feyre is covered in thorns is the reference.
Yeah, that makes sense because she was prickly. Because she hated everybody. She had hate in her heart. And then he was the court of roses because he was very nice to her. Well, he was.
Maybe.
At this point, I don't think any of them are good.
Overall, that was just a moment that I was like, oh, this is a throw to the title of the book.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think it was nicely done that it took, 60% of the book.
This is, I think, chapter 29.
Well, that was enough. 60% of the way through the book. But overall, I really have enjoyed it so far.
Yeah.
I can't go 3 days or 4 days. And then we're not allowed to discuss the book. killing me.
look at each
I need
other
your
like,
thoughts.
you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll take it because I'm the one controlling the audio. I'll like keep replaying a scene so I know you heard it. Like the old lady. We listened to that 4 or 5 times.
Oh my God. Yes.
I'm like, you heard this, right?
No. And
You can't be older women.
Yeah, anything but older women. I took several notes on
And right there, that just really just threw all of Alice's info out the window. I'm like, you're so full of shit.
I don't think
This
so.
is not the conditions. And he's like, if it was that serious and he truly wanted his power back.
He'd have fucked a dude that killed the wolf.
Exactly.
No, okay, so I hear what you're saying. I do think that you're being a little harsh on Alice. I think the fact that Alice would have all the information available, period.
Alice is the closest and most trusting person to Feyre.
Yeah, but I don't think Alice has every ounce of every bit of
I think
information.
Alice is a plant.
Man, I sure hope you're right, because that would make this so cool, but I did not pick up on it even a little bit, if that's the case.
Well, I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.